everybody, Jeff Miller here, head of GMAT instruction for Target Test Prep. Today, I'm happy to talk about how to improve your GMAT score. So if you've taken the GMAT before and are looking to get a higher score, this video is for you. Number one, do you have skill gaps? You gotta find those gaps. So you took the test, right? Maybe you scored, 100 points below your score goal, 70 points, whatever it is. Where are those gaps? You got to go in and you got to go back. And a lot of this depends on how thoroughly you studied the first time. Because if the first time you prepped, you weren't really ready for your exam and there's a lot more you have to learn, well, in that case, you go back and you just kind of redo the whole thing. But let's say you were ready and things just didn't go your way on test day, but you noticed you struggled a bit. Certainly you can check your ESR, although be careful with that because it's not a huge sample size. So I wouldn't base your entire study plan on that altogether, but really think about where those gaps are. If you got to go back and do some topical practice within various topics to see where those micro gaps are, like maybe you do a set of 25 rate questions and you realize, oh gosh, I'm not very good with catch up and pass problems. I didn't realize that was a weakness. So you fill that gap and you move on. You rinse and repeat this with quant. You rinse and repeat this with verbal, and you rinse and repeat this with data insights. Finding the skill gaps is obviously going to help you improve. But again, be true to yourself and ask yourself, am I really far off my score goal? And that way I got to really build up from the ground up. Or is it just a few holes here and there that I got to fix? That's how you're going to base your study plan of finding those skill gaps moving forward. Tip number 2, look at the careless mistakes. Those are killer. Now, I will tell you, we always say to follow your error log during your prep. So leading up to test day, if careless mistakes were hurting you, you should have been fixing them. But let's say they just reared their head on test day. Nothing you can do about that except to move on and fix those issues. But you got to look at what those careless mistakes are when you're prepping. Are you not able to write well on the whiteboard or the dry erase notebook? If that's the case, you got to slow down and write more legibly. Are you falling for trap answers? Are they asking you to solve for X, but you're solving for Y? These are small things that can be a score killer. Because remember, especially in the quant section of GMAT Focus, you get a few easy questions wrong and it can really decimate your quant score. So you got to hone in, look at those careless mistakes. If they are an issue for you, you have to do everything in your power to fix those prior to test day. It might mean you need to do some untimed practice so you can really focus on accuracy, really concentrate on the steps you're taking in each question. And then once you fix those issues, you moved on to time practice. 3, do you have timing issues? Yes, timing issues are killer, but you got to figure out if the issues are you just rushing and trying to go too fast? Are you letting one question get you or two questions get you where you spend 5 minutes on each one? So you got to really look at what's happening timing wise. And again, remember, we teach people to first study without timing so you can build up that accuracy and then organically get faster. Where people have timing issues a lot of the time is they're just letting a couple questions overly affect them. Let's say it's the first question in a section and you know you need to get it right, but you just can't get it right. Well, you got to maybe move on, try to come back to it later if you have time at the end of the section. But at the end of the day, you can't let yourself get hung up on just a few questions. If you do it, even if you get those questions right, what'll end up happening is it'll affect you down the line. So be very aware of what you're doing in your practice exams as far as timing is concerned. And if that's the type of timing that's affecting you, fix it. Now, if it's just that every question is taking you too long, then you got to go back. And that's where we talked earlier about content. Where are those gaps? Why can't I recognize what formula or process to use in which problem? Those are things you can fix with digging back into the content. But for sure, if timing issues are a problem, spend the time you need to fix them before retaking the GMAT. Tip number 4 is, are you and have you been following a study plan? Look, you might have gone into your first GMAT by just doing a ton of random questions. And then you ask yourself, well, was that really helpful? Was doing all the questions in the OG and calling it a day helpful? Probably not. We talk a lot about topical learning. I talk a lot about topical learning in almost all my videos. And hopefully that's how you were learning the first time around. And hopefully you were following some sort of plan that went from beginning to end. Now, if you weren't, no worries, you can do it now, but you got to have a study plan in place even for your second attempt because you got to know what you're doing every day. You have to know what the starting point of your study plan looks like. You need to know what the finish line of your study plan looks like. And that way you can fill in those gaps. You can improve timing, like we said. All of the things that maybe were affecting you early on, if you're following the right approach and study plan, you're going to be organized. You're not going to be overwhelmed. and all of these things that need to be fixed will incrementally get fixed. And remember, if you were following a study plan the first time, yeah, follow one again, but maybe adjust it. Maybe you don't need the thoroughness that the original study plan had, so follow a different one. At Target Test Prep, we're always advising students on different study plans to follow at different points in their prep, or different ways to use the TTP study plan depending on where they are in their prep. So the point is, get a study plan, follow it. That's going to help you improve your GMAT score. All right, tip number 5, our final tip. Was it test anxiety that got you during that previous test? You really got to kind of look within, and you got to ask yourself, if you didn't get your score, were you nervous on test day? Were you blanking? Were you freezing? Sometimes it's hard to admit these things because maybe you've put in months of prep and you don't want to say that you were fully prepared and then you got there and things just didn't go your way. Nobody wants to admit that, but trust me, if anxiety is an issue, I ask students about it all the time who come to me for post-prep advice, and sometimes they say, yeah, and that's where we hit the nail on the head, and that's where we say, that's what you need to fix. There are ways to fix anxieties. Certainly, you can do it on your own. You can also reach out to folks who specialize in that, but a lot of fixing anxiety can come from confidence. It can come from micro things like just breathing techniques and also visualization. You know, if you're in the days, weeks leading up to your GMAT, you really got to visualize yourself doing well, seeing questions, being confident answering those questions, and overall feeling good about walking into that test center or taking it online and just working up to your ability level. So again, look within. If anxiety is the issue, take the steps you need to fix it, and then going into your next GMAT, you should be in a great spot. All right, everybody, I had a blast talking about ways to improve your GMAT score. Remember, if you took the GMAT, you didn't do well, it's okay. You can follow some of the tips in this video of ways to get to your score goal. Don't be down. Don't think it's an impossible task. Trust me, we talk to so many students daily who need to take the test multiple times. So stay on track and you will be fine. Now, if you enjoyed the video today, please subscribe to our channel. Leave all the comments you want. We're happy to do more videos in the future. We've got your back here. So I'm hoping that if you're going to retake the GMAT, this video was helpful. So until next time, thanks for watching, everybody.